Hello and welcome back. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't been here before, my name's Meredith. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist based in Wellington, New Zealand, and I'm passionate about clinical hypnotherapy. And this is what this series is all about, talking about how to use certain types of suggestions. And today's episode, we're talking about embedded commands. So buckle up. I hope you enjoy this one. In this series, we've been looking at hypnotic language patterns, the different types of tools that help us bypass resistance, which is a big part of clinical work with a client. Also knowing as planting the seed of change, this is really important. So let's look at what embedded commands are really about. So if we think about suggestions that are tucked inside ordinary sentences, that's what an embedded command is. They work beautifully because the subconscious is able to process it on a deeper level. The conscious mind is busy processing the whole sentence, while the subconscious picks up the hidden part of the directive. So, for example, as you are sitting here, you might begin to relax deeply. Which part of that is an embedded command? Begin to relax deeply. Not as you are sitting here, this is just an observation, but you're utilizing that idea. You might, which is very permissive language, you might begin to relax deeply. Now that's a very clear, embedded, direct suggestion. Begin to relax deeply. So this is how we use it. It is a really big part of an eclectic toolbox that hypnotherapists use. So notice how the suggestion to relax deeply is hidden within the large sentence. It doesn't sound like a command, but the subconscious receives it like it is. This is why we call them embedded commands, seeds of change, where you plant them gently and over time they take over and grow into something wonderful. Especially if someone's been dealing with lack of self-esteem or their own inner critic has been doing overtime. A hypnotherapist is there to assist that person in shifting the way that they internally dialogue with themselves, potentially. Because if they continue dialoguing with themselves in that negative way, they're going to continue to feel unhappy or stressed and depressed. So if we're going to suggest something, we need to think about how we deliver that concept. As a clinical hypnotherapist, I like to talk to my clients. I really want to understand what's their situation, what's really going on here, what are their ways that they're running their normal program, and what needs to be interrupted. Now, within that understanding of what needs to be interrupted, we're planning on what needs to be embedded, like what is the new suggestion instead of the old one. It's usually the opposite. So I'm really on the hunt out for looking at that person's language, what they really want to experience, and that's where we start to slide in those embedded suggestions. We need to use tone. So when you're shifting your voice slightly, perhaps in a softer or firmer way, this can be highlighting a certain part of the sentence. Pauses, natural pause before and after the command that's landed can be quite potent. I like to create space actually with a client to think about it, to think about what comes next in their own mind so they have time to construct it. If you are continuously chattering and getting to the next thing, they're still back at the third thought rather than the sixth thought in. So give them time to process. Repeat them too. Layer them. Allow them to interconnect. Gestures, so a subtle nod or a hand movement or a change of eye contact can also anchor in a command. Rhythm, keeping the conversation flowing in that hypnotic way, the more natural it feels, the more effective it is. I might, at the end of a session, say, it's amazing how quickly things can begin to click into place really easily. Things clicking into place very easily. This is what I want the client to go away holding, that things are going to click into place easily, and how easy it is and how quickly it happens. All the time I'm using embedded commands, okay? Getting that person to really think about that and get the emotion going on it. Here are some examples of embedded commands that we can use in everyday practice. So for sleep, when your head touches the pillow tonight, you might just drift into a deep natural sleep. Which part of that is an embedded command? Drift into deep natural sleep. Okay, so when your head touches the pillow tonight, you might just. So that's setting up the scene. It's setting up a post-hypnotic suggestion where we're embedding the command, drifting into deep natural sleep. Okay, so for confidence, we might use each time you speak, you notice yourself feeling stronger and more capable. Now, you might exaggerate that part of the sentence, so let's try that again. Each time you speak, you notice yourself feeling stronger and more capable, right? So we're just exaggerating those very, very strong emotional words so it pops in that person's mind. Each time you speak, this is a very direct suggestion that's going to be a post-hypnotic suggestion that'll be acted upon later in time. You'll notice yourself. Now, this is a mind read and a cause and effect that you are setting up for that client to have. So each time you speak, so the speaking is then going to help them to feel stronger and more capable. Okay, so it's really, there's so many different language patterns involved in a suggestion format, but feeling stronger and more capable is definitely the embedded suggestion there, okay? For anxiety, this is another example. And even when your life feels overwhelming, you can remember to breathe calmly and let go. What are we inviting the person to do? Remember to breathe calmly and let go. So that is tacked on there. It's embedded into the statement. So it might be, and even when life feels overwhelming at times, you always remember to breathe and calmly let go. It happens easily, no matter what situation, time or place you're in. It happens efficiently, automatically, without your conscious need to even notice. Right? So we can begin to stack them. We talked about that last episode. So when we're looking at that idea of embedded commands, there it is, remembering to breathe calmly and let go. Here are some practical tips that you might want to go away and work on, sort of rewriting the client's goals as embedded commands. So goal, I want to feel less anxious in meetings. So the embedded command might be, when you are in a meeting next, you'll notice yourself feeling calmer and more in control. Okay, so stack the embedded commands to build momentum. So as you sit here now, you might notice your breathing slowing down. Okay, notice your breathing slowing down, embedded. And as it slows, you can feel calmer and more centered. Feel calmer and more centered. Another embedded. And as you feel calmer, you'll find it easier to focus on what really matters. Find it easier to focus on what really matters. That's the embedded command. So we're stacking them. There's a lot of cause and effects there. So one then follows it to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. It's really important. So keeping it subtle and ethical as well. You want to embed the suggestions or commands that is part of what is going to be right for that client. And that's where you're having a good supportive conversation before any maybe more formal hypnosis begins. And that's where we can start to utilize their own language, their own words into that. So key takeaways from this is embedded commands are suggestions hidden inside everyday language. They bypass resistance because they feel natural and conversational. Tone, pauses, and gestures help to make them more effective. Think of them as planting seeds. The subconscious mind will nurture them and allow them to grow. If you've enjoyed today's talk time, please tune in again next week. I'll be back here with another part of our language pattern series. And please hit like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. And for those that have, thank you very much. I appreciate it. If you're interested in learning to become a clinical hypnotherapist, you can check out the school website nzach.ac.nz, and I'd love to usher you on board. It's an online, very what we call hands-on experience, learning all sorts of things to do with hypnotherapy. Anyway, thank you again for your time and tuning in today. Ka kite.